All right, good afternoon. This is David O. Thank you for joining me once again here at In the Know with David O. We have got a great show for you. Some very amazing people joining us today. We'll be talking to the Honorable Patrick J. Murphy. I don't know what to call him, secretary, congressman. We'll go through the whole litany of what this post 9/11 generation leader has done and is doing in our conversation with the former acting secretary, 32nd Undersecretary of the United States Army. And then we'll be talking to Kim Zavaglia. She is Director of Veterans Initiatives at Aurora Home Care and Hospice, services available to veterans, and learn a little bit about what she does in particular and the issues that she deals with. And then we have got just a very talented filmmaker, aspiring entrepreneur who is already well on his way. He is Nazir Alston, CEO of NKA Creations, filmmaker, photographer, entrepreneur. Well, thank you for joining me, and let me just remind you that last week we were talking to Vincent Better, Vice President over at Technically Media for the Philly Tech Week 2019. Ino Brasco, the PHL Live Center Stage winner of the hip hop category, and Kenny Brock of Brock's MMA Academy, Operation Open Mat, which is all about raising funds for veterans. And you can hear that show and this show later on today on the podcast if you go to www.wwdbam.com. Check out the program menus In the Know with David O, and you will find everything that we do. I'd like to thank our show sponsor, Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Without them, I wouldn't have this show. And, they do a wonderful job in helping people deal with pain and rehabilitation. They're located at the Land Title Building, 100 South Broad Street, Suite 1800. They're open from 9 to 7 p.m. Check them out. Well, listen, it's my pleasure to introduce a friend of mine, and certainly just a great example for all Americans, but in particular, kind of a leader when you talk about role models of the post 9/11 generation. He is soldier statesman Patrick Murphy. He was the 32nd Undersecretary of the Army, and during that time, he was the acting Secretary of the Army. He was the first Iraq War veteran to be elected to Congress in 2007, where he authored legislation including the 21st Century GI Bill, repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and other things, and serves as a distinguished chair of innovation at West Point. A decorated combat veteran, he is a serial entrepreneur in technology, media, venture capital, as well as being involved with elite wellness. Pat, welcome to the show.
Hey, Councilman, it's great to be back with you, brother.
Hey, my pleasure. And listen, you're no stranger to this. You had your own television show, your own book. What is going on with you these days?
Well, there's a lot going on, but I think like the rest of the Delaware Valley, we're all wishing the Philadelphia 76ers. Kawhi Leonard would have been on the Sixers, but never saw a 5-bounce shot like that at the end of the game in Game 7. But no, I'm staying positive. They're a young team. I'm glad that they're re-upping Brett Brown. I know this is not a sports show, but you asked me how I'm doing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm resilient, but I'll tell you, I'd be a lot more smiley if the Sixers would have won. But my 12-year-old daughter, Maggie Murphy, literally was in tears afterwards. I had to console her. I'm like, Maggie, it's okay. They're going to trade Ben Simmons. It's because he's taking Kendall Jenner. I was like, Maggie, they're not trading Ben Simmons. He's at the cornerstone of this franchise, him and the process. Joel Embiid. I think they'll sign Jimmy Butler, etc. But listen, I'm doing great. America's doing great. Philadelphia is in the upswing because they have people like you there on City Council, David. But I will tell you, there's a lot of positive things in our veteran community. When you look at 20 million veterans out there, and they are truly civic assets when they come back home to their hometowns.
Now, you and I were together just was it last week? It's with Elizabeth Dole for Hidden Heroes, and why don't you tell our listeners what that's all about.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, Hidden Heroes, Elizabeth Dole is a phenomenon. She is a great American. You know, her and Senator Bob Dole, she represented North Carolina, he represented Kansas. She was a woman senator, but the first woman to run the American Red Cross in decades. She did a phenomenal job there.
Mm-hmm.
She was Secretary of Transportation. But she's, because of her relationship with one of the iconic heroes of World War II, and Bob Dole,
Yes.
She really cares about veteran caregivers.
Yes.
And when you look at the 20 million veterans out there across America, there's about 5.5 million veteran caregivers out there. And she is their voice through this Hidden Hero Foundation. She has partnered with folks like Aurora Home Health Care and Kim Zavaglia. I know she's going to have her on later today.
Yes.
But I will tell you, Senator Dole is the real deal.
Yeah,
And,
you know what?
To be there with you last week was pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, that was a great time for me. I have a photo with her from back like 1996, and I took it up. I got her autograph and message. I knew her a little bit way back when, and my interactions with Senator Dole, Bob Dole, were just amazing. What a wonderful, kind person.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say, but so different from his public image back then. He was kind of portrayed as this really, mean guy. But man, when you met him personally, he just exuded calmness, gentleness, and kindness. Now, she, on the other hand, from what little I know of her, she was like super precise, very intelligent, smart, nothing left to chance type woman. So yeah.
Yeah, she was kind of over prepared. She has a great CEO working on behalf of her foundation. His name is Steve Schwab, and I serve on a couple of boards with him. He's just a great American as well. But when we were there last week, it was really that send a message to the region here that we're a Hidden Hero City, and thank you for the resolution from council and from the proclamation from Mayor Kenny. And I will tell you that's really when people look at what's wrong with America and they say, hey, this thing lose faith in government. And people are, listen, I know you're a Republican, David, I'm a Democrat, but, I look at people who are going to put the country first. And I thought last week it was you and Councilman Bobby Heenan and the mayor, with her, really was a testament about making sure that we're supporting our veterans, to make sure that, yes, we might ask less than 1% right now to go to places, like Iraq, where I've been, or Afghanistan, or Syria, but when they come home, whether we were part of that 1% or not, whether that was your son or daughter or niece or nephew or not, we have to wrap our arms around these heroes. And I know you know this, but for the Vietnam generation, they were the ones that the country at that time did not separate the war from the warrior. It is not the military that decides to go in these engagements, it's the political leaders in Washington. But we execute those orders given us. And those Vietnam veterans who, frankly, were not treated the right way when they came home, they have bent over backwards for my generation of Iraq, Afghanistan veterans to say, welcome home, brother, welcome home, sister, to make sure that, we came back into somebody back in society in an okay place.
Well, you definitely got a good welcome back from the veterans here in the Philadelphia area.
Well, I ran for Congress and they hooked me up. I mean, of course, and then I tried to make sure that I delivered for them. And I think I delivered to a new veteran cemetery, which is like our little Arlington here in Pennsylvania. It's called the Washington Crossing Veterans National Cemetery. It's where my dad, who's a Navy vet, will be buried. My brother, myself, hopefully you, as a veteran. Not that we both have a couple more decades left to service.
Not anytime soon.
That's right. You're not going to invite me back on the show. No, but that and the post-9/11 GI Bill, where that has ushered in about.
That's an amazing bill, by the way, the 21st century GI Bill.
And listen, to me, it's very important. My goddaughter, my brother's daughter, Katie Murphy, she's at Penn State right now on that bill, and it's something that we're very proud of. There's about 1.1 million college students on that bill right now, going to college via that bill. So. Really try to make a difference out in American society right now was my intent when I was in the Congress.
Right. So I'm going to switch up a little bit just to remind our voters that, Pat Murphy was acting Secretary of the Army. That is 1.3 million people, a budget of $148 billion. The nation's largest employer of millennials. He is the co-founder of Work Merck, a business-to-business tech company. He is the founder of PJM Productions. He has authored a book, Taking the Hill, which is also the name of the television show that you were the host of. And you are now with Stony Lonesome Group, which is a venture capital firm which has invested in 26 veteran-owned businesses in healthcare, cyber, and big data, as well as being involved in Elite Wellness, which was formerly with the Sixers, Eagles, Phillies, consulting with CEOs of CrossFit, Spartan Race, and other national platforms.
Yeah, listen, I drink a lot of coffee, David.
Very busy schedule.
But I will tell you, I am passionate about my brother and sister veterans, and not just more of them to go into political public service, which I think is important. And you look at, there's the least amount of veterans serving in the U.S. Congress right now in history, in the last at least recent 7 decades. But in the business community, people take for granted. Yes, we have we're a great nation because we're a good nation, and yes, we have the #1 military in the world, and we have the #1 economy in the world. But when you look at that, a lot of these veterans, when they come home, they started after World War II, some of the most iconic global brands. They started Comcast with Ralph Roberts. They started Nike with Phil Knight and Bill Bowerman, which is the largest sports apparel company in the world. They started FedEx. They started Walmart. But it was about half the veterans after World War II came back and started doing small business. Now it's less than 5% that start doing small business. So you go from 50% to only less than 5%. So I'm trying to lead by example. I have a great tech company. It's called Workmark, that business-to-business tech company. It's out in Conshohocken, but we're a national company. We have incredible clients like Starbucks, like Aurora Home Healthcare, like the University of San Francisco, like Temple University, but also getting access to capital for veterans who want to start doing small business.
Right.
I do that through Stony Lonesome Group. We put about $26 million in the businesses to make sure they can go to grow and create the next Nikes and Comcast.
Right. Now, you do a lot of traveling, at least from following on Facebook and Twitter and all that stuff. So what is your schedule like for the average folks out there? Like, what are you up to these days?
I listen, I got 2 little kids, so I try not to travel too much, but when I travel, I make it count. But listen, I'm blessed in that I get asked to speak in different places, and I try to make a difference there. And so I do spend a lot of time in New York City or D.C., and I know I'm going out to Kansas in a little bit and some other places. But I will tell you, there's no place like home.
Yeah.
And so for someone that, the Army sent me to Germany and to Bosnia and Iraq and West Point, New York, and Fort Knox, Kentucky, Fort Benning, Georgia. I don't want to give you the whole list, but going all over, I always knew I was going to come back home here to Philly.
And you've been here in Philly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, very accessible, by the way.
Yeah. So I born and raised in a row house in Northeast Philly.
Yeah.
So
last time you and I caught up, you're like, can you meet me at this event? And I was like, oh yeah. So I swung by, and you were speaking at one of the American Legion events, and I sat down with you, and you were sitting next to a guy who was in, I think, a T-shirt or maybe a button-down shirt. I don't know who he was. He's the only guy without a suit on. We were all chit-chatting. Turns out to be Dakota Myers, the honor Medal of Honor recipient. From Texas. So
yeah,
good guy.
Dakota's a great guy, a Marine.
Yeah.
And I joke with the Marines. Marines, they're like a great JV team for our nation. The varsity team is the American Army. But Dakota's a great American, and he's a good friend. And but the reality of it is, it's like, David, you've been there every step of the way for brothers and sister veterans in Philadelphia. That one happened to be, that veterans vet was Ben Franklin. I know Ken Wong was there.
Yep.
Just other great Americans that are really doing their part.
Hey, got to give a shout out to some of our. We have a little chapter here, the 82nd Airborne Division. I wasn't in the 82nd Airborne. It's all airborne, all paratroopers. Secretary Murphy and I are both members of the Philadelphia chapter, along with former State Rep Brian Lentz and now President Judge of Municipal Court Patrick Dugan.
Yeah, we got quite the, and of course the councilman here, David O, has been very humble. He was the president of our association. I think he followed after Danny Bozak, great Teamster.
The great 22-year president of our chapter, Dan Bozak. Teamsters,
That's right.
Just a good guy, salt of the earth, fantastic human being.
Yeah, and I love Dan Bozak, but I tell you though, David, you were a paratrooper though. You went to airborne school, so you're not a dirty, nasty leg, is what we say.
I fell out the door. Fell out the door a couple of times.
Well, I always say about David O. People, he's this guy, he's a martial artist, former soldier. What I joke about David O. is that you have to do at least 5 jumps to become a paratrooper, and there's only 1 night jump. David O. is the guy that did 5 night jumps. Why is that? Because his eyes were closed the whole time. He was so afraid.
That's what I say. All jumps looked alike to me.
No, we joke around, but no, listen, it's a, we razz each other, whether Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, but come on, everyone knows that America's varsity team is the U.S. Army.
Oh, it's got to be. Well, let me ask you this. I mean, with all of these things going on that you're doing, what do you think about today's political climate?
Well, it's a little disheartening, to be honest with you. And I think there's some folks, I do think the media plays a role in what's going on right now. And a lot of people just want to pick a jersey, whether it's Democrat, Republican, etc. And I think we need people to put the jersey on of the United States of America.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We're Americans first, and our party should represent a perspective in improving our nation and helping our fellow man.
Yeah. So, and I think you look at that with whether you look at the Gallup numbers, etc. The public approval ratings of government, it's almost as bad as used car salesmen. Mm-hmm. And I grew up in a row house in Northeast Philadelphia. I grew up, with a mom and dad that really believed in what John F. Kennedy and Bobby Kennedy brought to the table, and people like Pope John Paul II and Mother Teresa, and they were our role models. And political public service was an honorable, noble profession. I still think it can be, and I still think it is in many cases, but that is not the perception out there. And I think there's some folks who are culpable in that perception being what it is. And I got into political public service because I lost 19 men in Baghdad. I wanted more veterans in office. I want to fight for things like the new GI Bill and the Veterans Cemetery in our hometown here in southeastern Pennsylvania. And now I'm not in political public service, but I still believe in the same things. I partner with great companies like Aurora Home Healthcare that help our veterans. And I know you're going to have Kim Zavaglia on a little bit. But I work at places like WorkMark, which is a veteran-owned company that we do these, wearable technology. It's about employee engagement that, we make teams better by making sure that CEOs or leaders of companies or teams are connected to their teammates using Apple Watches or other wearable technologies.
Right.
So that to me is exciting, but I will tell you, that's why I feel like I don't work a day in my life. You ask me about my schedule. I wake up, I read the paper. I sometimes, frankly, I usually read the sports page first, to be honest with you, because
that's the honest section of the paper.
That's right. But then I read the front part, like kind of the meat and potatoes part. You got to read what's going on, what's new, and when I see good things, I let people know I saw good things, or when I see things I don't like, I try to make a difference about it.
Right. Well, that's good stuff. Is there politics in your future? You never can say. You can't say absolutely yes or absolutely no. But how does it look for you?
I don't listen. Like I said to you earlier, I really believe in political public service.
Yeah.
And there's different ways to do it. I mean, listen, there's 600,000 elected positions in America. There's only 435 members of Congress, 100 senators, 1 president. But there's other ways to go into political public service. I served, as you know, as acting Secretary of the Army. That was awesome. To go in front of the formation, to go in front of 1 million soldiers, 300,000 civilians.
Hard to believe for a young guy like yourself.
Yeah, no, listen.
I'm old school. I just remember looking at the pictures, and here you are, the former acting secretary of the U.S.
Army. I know. And listen, I will share with you, which I should share with you. I'll share with you. I got a email the other day. Someone that's in the Middle East right now, and they're at a Fort operating base, and they have the pictures of President Trump and the other senior leaders of our nation. But in that one of the pictures is of the Secretary of the Army. He's like, "Hey, Murph, your picture's still up. We're not taking it down." And I was like, "Hey, that's not cool. There's a new Secretary of the Army.
You gotta respect the position."
Yeah, totally. And that's what I put the country first. And I appreciate the sentiment. But so listen, would I go back to political public service? Absolutely. It's because if I felt like I was going to make a difference. But I have an utmost respect of the people that do it, like yourself. I was honored to do it for so many years, but and I'm young, I'm 45, but I don't feel like I have to do that. If I do it, it has to be a calling. It has to be something that I know right then I can make a difference, and I would go do it and get back out, because I do love the fact that I'm home. That I was at my daughter's school. They had European Market Day today at Holy Family Regional Catholic School. She's selling Irish potatoes, and it's like that to me is like that's where it's at. I have my kids for a few more years before they're adults, and they're not going to hang out with that anymore.
Right. Now I know you were involved in trying to bring the capabilities of advanced technology into improving health care for veterans, and as you do that work, how are you finding that? Because it's not so easy to actually introduce, in fact, good ideas. It's such an entrenched bureaucracy, politics, Washington, all that stuff. So how is that going?
Well, listen, it's going well. I wasn't going to Washington to make friends. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, Reverend. I apologize. I'll do confession before I say it. But listen, I'm an ass kicker.
Yeah.
I'm there to make a difference. I was there because I have brothers and sisters that never made it home, and I have, brothers and sister veterans that every day that 20 of them take their own life by suicide. And I'm not there to make friends, and I was there to make a difference. We've moved the needle with electronic health records with the Department of Defense and the VA. We've partnered with people like Cerner, which does a great job, but locally here, where the rubber meets the road, I have the Vietnam generation that a lot of those men and women, they need help, and they need home health care. And I want to make sure that the last years of life are great years, as good as they could be. And that's why I partner with people like Kim Zavaglia and Aurora Home Health Care or Einstein Hospital, whatever it is. I partner with these folks because I know what they do every day. They wake up, they're trying to help people too, and I don't take crap, and I just try and make a difference where I can.
Okay, well, listen, in our last couple of minutes, is there a place where people can kind of catch up on what you're up to, find out the things you're involved with, maybe see you speak or things like that?
Yeah, listen, well, this Friday I'm the commencement speaker for Widener University. Widener University is my alma mater.
Yes.
It used to be Pennsylvania Military College. It's now Widener University for several decades now. So I'm still, I'm on the board there at Widener. I'll be speaking at 4 o'clock at the Mann Music Center at that commencement address. So folks can catch me there. But of course, I'm on social media. My handle on Twitter is @PatrickMurphyPA. Same with Facebook and Instagram and etc. And to me, I try to get on social media every day, and it's me doing it. And I just have some messages, or I put it out there and I respond to other folks. Like today, I was on there because my brother JJ, who's an Air Force veteran, because he couldn't get into the Army, went to the Air Force. But
these are all military jokes.
But my brother JJ turned, it's his birthday today, so I gave him a little shout out. And I did on social media. I called him too. But listen, I'm out there, but I will tell you, I'll be at Einstein Hospital this Friday, 11 o'clock. They're doing a veteran ceremony. Ken Wong is our keynote speaker. I'm going to be there to support Ken because he's a civilian aide to the Secretary of the Army. I put him in that position when I was in there. And I'll be there with Kim Zavaglia and others that are involved with Einstein. So, I do that, but I always put what I'm doing on social media. And I just feel very, very blessed. I do feel like Forrest Gump, to be honest with you, Councilman. I feel like I've been very, very lucky in my life. But I think hard work, presents some lucky moments in your life, and if you keep working hard, things happen.
Well, listen, thank you for joining us today. And listen, I'll ask everyone to stay tuned because we'll be back with Kim Zavaglia right after this commercial break. All right, we are back. Listen, we were talking to former Acting Secretary of the Army and so much more, former Congressman, current entrepreneur, Patrick J. Murphy, right here from our own area. Well, listen, now we're going to talk to Kim Zavaglia. He mentioned her a couple times because she is the Director of Veterans Initiatives for Aurora Home Care and Hospice, and we're particularly talking about her role in serving veterans, the benefits that they have earned and what that means as they approach these issues. But let me start with this. Kim, you are the spouse of a military person, right?
I am. I'm a very proud Navy spouse.
I know, and there is our acting secretary, making fun of the Navy. Huh? All right, well. How did you get involved in your current job as Director of Veterans Initiatives?
I actually have a long line of military in my family. My
okay.
grandfather was in the Navy, and my father-in-law is Air Force. Uncle is Army, so of course my husband. So
Yes.
it's near and dear.
And did you start out in home care, or what did you study? How did you get involved in this whole area to begin with?
I always had a passion for taking care of people. So when this position came, in front of me, it was a natural instinct to just run with it and take care of as many people as I can.
So when does this issue arise? When do you find yourself engaged in a conversation with someone who may need your help, who is a veteran or the spouse of a veteran, for example?
Unfortunately, it seems like it's always at the last, the panic mode. It doesn't ever seem like, and it's natural, you're not going to plan for something that you're not thinking of. You don't want to think about the last parts. So a lot of times it's when, a child, an adult child is taking care of their family member, mother, father, aunt, uncle,
Right.
Whether it's a surviving spouse or the veteran themselves. And we just try to implement the care that they need, whether it's a skilled care or the non-skilled care.
Now, let's kind of put into perspective. For example, there are less and less Korean War veterans, and some of our Vietnam veterans are starting to get up there. And so if there is, the children taking care of the father, for example, and he's not as flexible, mobile as he used to be, and of course they want to keep things as it was, right? They always imagine that dad's coming back, that dad's tough, he's coming back, this is just a little bit here, he'll be back, and he's not making it back. He's going to the hospital more and more. They're visiting the hospital, they're trying to get him back, they're back in the hospital. And so as this is occurring, what would you say to them if you were there, able to say, hey, listen, this is what you got to think about?
So what we would do is generally take basic information, but to find out, the level of care that they need. A lot of times it's just to have somebody being their companion for the, getting back and forth to the bathroom or dressing or eating medication. So we would set that up. Fortunately, with the aid and attendance program, we work with a company called Vet Assist. And we set all of that up so that they can get the long-term care that they need, have a home health aide in place,
Right.
and that could be paid for through a family member or friend to take care of the family member. So it's a nice streamlined effect for the patient itself, himself,
Right.
herself. That will the changes aren't there. They the people will still be there, but they're not losing money, leaving their job to take care of their loved ones.
Because it is better, in certain cases, in actually in many cases, particularly at the earlier stages, that the veteran remain in the home environment, but because, for example, the son or the daughter is losing time at work, is not actually a professionally trained person, that there may be the opportunity for a skilled healthcare aide to come in, or a family member to be trained, who will actually get paid for providing the services, and that overall reduces the cost of healthcare. So it's kind of a win-win-win for everybody. Absolutely. At that point in time.
100%.
Okay, and do people know about, like, hey, it's time for me to get some help here, or do you find yourself, oh my goodness, they don't know about this?
I think that's the biggest part. I try to educate. It's not about, hey, give me a referral. It's, hey, how can I help you?
Right.
The biggest thing is to guide people in the direction, whether it's a resource in the community or it's the services that they're entitled to. Being a veteran, you can own a home, you can own a car, and still get the services that you deserve.
Yeah, because we're getting this conversation about when you start getting government help, you're not supposed to have assets. You can't have it,
Mhm.
and so people, they got to sell off things. If you sell it off too quick, it might look like a fraud. All kinds of things. So it gets a little complicated.
It does.
And are you able to,
I
with
can
your
navigate
organization,
that.
kind of navigate it for that? Okay.
Absolutely. So, and with the veterans program, you actually have an asset amount that you're allowed to have,
Okay.
Which just increased.
Okay. That's
So
good news.
a lot of people and this
that
is a good
that
thing.
happened without Congressman Murphy.
Well, I don't know. So he probably did have something to do with it. But as far as that goes, a lot of people that did apply even before October can
Yes.
reapply, being that those assets increased.
So they might have been denied or unable, and
Exactly.
now, unbeknownst to them, they can apply now and maybe get approved.
Exactly. I had like 3 or 4 people within the last month that actually just happened. They applied before the past October.
And this is a service that you provide on behalf of Aurora Home Care
Yes,
and Hospice, right?
absolutely.
What's the difference between home care and hospice?
So home care is one-on-one care with a home care assistant, aide, personal care companion.
Yes.
And it's the difference would be it's end of life. Now hospice doesn't necessarily mean you're going to pass,
Right.
which is the biggest, scariest thing in anyone's life. But it's the diagnosis is 6 months or less. That doesn't mean that you can't graduate off. We actually
Right.
had a graduate. They were on hospice and came off after
Right.
a certain amount of time, which is awesome.
You are
So-
not required to pass away.
You
in
are
6
not
months. Yeah,
required
you
to
can live
pass away.
longer and come back.
Yes, and yeah, exactly
Yeah.
that. You can graduate off, and then if something changes in a year or time, you can come back on the services.
Right,
So
right.
that's the biggest fear is you sign somebody onto hospice and they only have a week left, and that's not really it. Hospice care is
okay.
one-on-one care, so it's medication, to help you be comfortable.
And there's a third part of this, because then there is so home care,
Mhm.
hospice care, and then hospital care.
Mhm.
And what I mean is, and I'm not sure about this, but whether you choose or the veteran chooses, or usually it's a family member chooses, very aggressive intervention by a medical team to keep them alive, or whether they have come to the decision that, listen, life is ending, and this is about passing in the most peaceful, comfortable, natural way possible.
Mhm.
What do you think? Is that right or wrong?
I
or-
think it is.
You
I
can
mean,
correct me if I'm wrong.
As
Yeah.
far as the hospice, it just really depends on each patient. It's case by case.
okay.
It's kind of hard to determine.
Right, right.
If they're really fighting to have all of those things, they might not be appropriate for hospice yet.
Right.
And a lot of times it comes down to the family not being ready. It's not necessarily the loved one.
Yeah, I can say that my mother passed away April 5th, and she was like 98 years old, and so she was kind of coming. We actually thought she passed away, and then she came back to life, and we're like, "Wow, Mom is back!" So we
Like the
enjoyed
Terminator,
several.
David, like the Terminator.
Yeah, exactly. We enjoyed several months with her, and it was wonderful. We took some more pictures and all that. But there was a point where she was pretty much out of it. She was not really aware of what was going on. And one of my siblings wanted keep her alive at all costs possible, and they were talking about, do you want to basically assault her body with medication, go through all that, and the rest of us are kind of she lived a full life, she's done everything she can do, she's not coming back, her quality of life isn't getting better. We really think it's about being comfortable, peaceful, and passing naturally, and with all dignity and things like that. Now, if she were 41, that'd be quite different, but she was 98. Do you get involved in those conversations? Do you give guidance, or do you pretty much stay out of that, or just how do you navigate that stuff?
We give information, we educate, and then let the family choose the
yes.
method that they want. We do have palliative care, which is a little bit less. You can go back to the hospital and see your doctors. Once you go on hospice, you can't,
Right.
within the guidelines. So we let them know everything that is expected and what the process is.
So there are some technical
Mhm.
rules here.
There are.
Yeah, and so the well-informed, it's very important.
I think the biggest thing is education, and not all services are alike.
Right.
Not all companies are alike, and with Aurora, we provide hospice care 5 to 7 days a week, 2 to 4 hours a day. We have spiritual guidance. We have social workers. So we try to, especially when their status is declining.
Yeah.
We have somebody there with them at all hours so that they don't pass alone, which is the most important.
Okay. Well, for our listeners who are thinking about, hey, I'd like to learn a little more about this, where can they go to get some more information?
So the website is actually www.auroraAtHome.com. It's all spelled out exactly like that. If they wanted to call the office, it's 215-354-4444. And if they have any questions, they can call directly and let them know, what the services are. We do have the community resources as well.
Okay.
As well as the 15 different languages I did not tell you about.
Oh, that's very important.
Yes,
Sure.
so we try to bridge the gap of communication. So we actually have 15 different staff members speaking all the different languages. Because not all people speak English, and that's.
Hey, I ran across three of them myself. Nothing to do with this show, but you happen to have a group of folks that go out to various community events and with different cultural events, speak different languages. So I've run into at least the Cambodian, Chinese, and Korean representatives from Aurora Home Care and Hospice.
I think that's the biggest part, is that we're community based.
Yeah.
We're out in the public. We work with ALS Association and different community events throughout Philadelphia. They focused on Philadelphia first, and then we're within the 5 surrounding counties as well. But English was their last language, not their first, because people didn't know how to navigate, which is huge.
Right.
And once they see a need, they implement it and put it in our service program. So.
Okay. Well, that's great. So listen, everybody, whether it's for cultural reasons, language, other things, or in this case for Kim Zavaglia, veterans and veterans initiatives, you can check out companies like Aurora Home Care and Hospice. Get the information you need, Google, and find out more, because when the time comes, it can be very technical, and if you have not prepared yourself to meet the criteria, it could be troublesome.
Absolutely. It's hard to navigate without the education and the help.
So don't try to learn it all yourself. Get someone to help you. Yes, call Kim Zavaglia. All right, Kim, thank you for joining
so
our
much.
show. Okay,
And
wonderful.
she's a proud Archbishop Ryan graduate.
There's another
As are
connection.
you.
All right. Okay, well, listen, we'll be back after this commercial break with Nazir, Alston, NKA Creations. All right, we are back in the know with David O. I am so happy you are here with me. We had a great conversation with Pat Murphy, former Congressman, 32nd Undersecretary of the Army, and former Acting Secretary of the Army. And then we talked to Kim Zavaglia, Director of Veterans Initiatives at Aurora Home Care and Hospice. My guest now is a really amazing young man. I met him years ago. His name is Nazir Alston. And I went to watch his documentary that he made about sickle cell anemia. And he was just a young fella, and wow, what an amazing documentary, really involving himself, very serious material. And from there, he has gone on, and so Nazir, welcome to the show.
Thank you, glad to be here.
Okay, excellent. Well, let me start with this. I met you,
No, it wasn't 8 years
Was
ago.
it
It was 2016.
Oh, wow.
Probably like 5 years ago.
Seems like 8 years, 5, 8. You get up in age, man.
Same
You can't tell
difference.
the year. Okay, well, listen. The thing is, you were quite young there then, and you're still young, but you're not like a child anymore. So,
Right.
yeah. So, you started NKA Creations LLC in 2015,
Correct.
and what caused you to do that?
So first, I started out by doing YouTube videos and stuff like that,
Yep.
but then I wanted to take the filmmaking thing a little bit serious, because one day I had just looked up how to make a movie, but at the time it wasn't a lot of information on YouTube.
Right.
Now there's tons of information. But so I started out from there, and then I wanted to take it a little bit serious, so that's why I started the company. And then from the company, we had produced the Incomplete Cell documentary about sickle cell anemia. Then that was the first project out of the company.
let me ask you this. Well, why did you start a company? Because a lot of people just make a film.
Well, I've always been a businessman, and in my eyes, I've always been like an entrepreneur.
Right,
you know,
right.
When I was probably like 7 years old, I was on the corners selling water.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I feel like, that was always me.
So that was just a natural thing for you. I ain't going to make a movie, so I better start a company.
Yep.
Okay.
Made sense.
Well, but it is, because that's the direction you're going to. Now, you went to Georgia State University, and you are now kind of focusing on film.
Correct.
And you just completed a project,
Yes, we did.
32-minute film, right?
Yes, we just completed a project with the YMCA, particularly with the Christian Street YMCA, which is
Yep.
actually the first black YMCA to have its own building.
Yeah.
So, but the project was about anti-gun violence in Philadelphia, but it was focused on South Philadelphia because the project was actually directly kind of close to me because one of the victims who was murdered in the actual documentary, he was part of the same graduating class as me, and I went to String Theory High School, and we graduated with a close-knit class. We graduated with, I think, like 130 kids, so everybody knew everybody.
Right.
So I didn't even know that he was going to be a part of the documentary, or he would be a part of this particular story in this documentary, but it just so happened to be that I would be the person to be shedding light on him.
Now your work tends to be kind of serious, from what I can see. Is that true or not?
It's true, and it's true on accident.
Oh, is that how that happened? Like, because you take on some serious topics.
Yeah, I feel like the stories just come to me, and it's like it kind of resonates with my heart, and then my heart says you got to do it, and so that's kind of where it happens. But I do like to dip into like more fun projects and things like that as well.
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt you right now because it reminds me, we got to tell the listeners about like some of the awards and accolades you've received.
Okay, let me see. So when I first got into this film thing, I received an award from the University of Pennsylvania for Young Genius Award, presented to me by Dr. Maurice Henderson,
Yes.
PhD. And also after that, I received a award from the Philadelphia International Film Festival for the first documentary, Incomplete Cell. And then later on, my mentor, Delmar Washington, he allowed me to work on set with Dave Chappelle and Stan Lathan at Radio City Music Hall. And this was summer 2017, and this was Dave Chappelle's biggest tour.
Right.
So that was my first time like working on a professional set. And then after that, a few months later, my mentor had called me up and said, "Hey, you want to work on a project with Kevin Hart's LOL Network?" I said, "Yeah." So that's kind of where it started, And I just gotta thank the people that I have around me for where I'm at.
Yes.
As well.
So you've already worked on on some major things with some major people.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So I just wanted our listeners to know that although you're young and we're having this conversation, you're a person worth listening to.
Yeah, you might be able to learn some things from me.
Yeah. So some of your upcoming projects that you have listed, I mean, they run the gamut. Like hip hop series, Vigilante Chronicles.
Right.
How are you choosing your projects, and how do you plan out to cover all that in terms of filming, producing?
So the project, The Vigilante Chronicles, that actually came to me from a 16-year-old writer at the time by the name of Darren Woodard. And at the time I was in Atlanta attending Georgia State. So he had hit me up through via social media, and then this was probably about December. I came back home in January, and we started to produce the project, The Vigilante Chronicles, because I kind of like the script, and I just kind of sat down with him and kind of revamped the script a little bit to make it better.
Right.
And the project is about teenage homosexuality, teenage suicide, and a whole bunch of other social issues, but we tell it through the lens of superheroes and superpowers, things like that, kind of like a Netflix Luke Cage or something like that.
Right.
So that's the way that we want it, but where it's focused on different social issues. Yeah, so it's a fun project, but it still has a serious undertone about it.
Yeah, sounds pretty serious to me. Now, what you're doing, particularly on the commercial side,
Right.
because a lot of people, they like to make films, and but you are putting together a structure, a platform for financial success.
Yes, indeed. So I feel like over the time, the past 4 years, I've just steadily started to build my portfolio and show that I know what I'm doing. I'm worth to take a listen to and have a meeting with to try to execute a project. And so far, our first biggest client so far with the company was with the YMCA. So that was one of the biggest projects and contracts that we got. So we're starting to now move forward with the more commercial side and doing more work like that. So,
What's your game plan for the next 5 years?
game plan for the next 5 years for me is to stack some money to put into real estate. That's what I also want to do. I'm already have a whole game plan for real estate. I'm gonna have a few investment properties and allow those to help fund my dream of filmmaking, because you need money to do this film thing.
Yes, yeah, you need money to put gas in the car. Yeah,
Yes. So I want to do that, and also just continue with the film thing, and also create my own projects for my own creative projects, like the ones I wrote out, not just client work and commercial work.
Right.
And also put my own little visions out there.
How does it work, for example, to get someone like Netflix to pick you up for like a docu-series?
Okay. So for Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime, it all starts with an aggregator. You're not going to talk to anybody important unless you go through an aggregator, or unless like you really know somebody.
Right.
So that's where it starts out, and you have to have that. You have good content, and people don't know, like, when you film a show for Netflix, they have certain stipulations that you want the film in. Like, they need it to be filmed in 4K with specific codecs and everything. So a lot of times, if you don't film in these specific codecs, you're putting yourself at a disposition to not actually get on the platform, because you didn't record that whole entire project in a certain type of format.
Right.
So you want to make sure that you check with these companies and make sure that you're filming by their standards, because at the end of the day, Netflix has to hold up quality for the rest of the world.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And financially, I heard this, and I'm not sure because I just heard it, that, for example, you could get like from $250,000 on a per episode of your docu-series.
Yeah, you can. You got 250,000, $1 million, whatever Netflix feels like they want to invest in, and what it's worth. Honestly, whatever Netflix. Honestly, it's what Netflix thinks how many subscriptions they can bring in from that project. That's all they really care about. Will this project bring in X amount of subscriptions, and will it help retain our current subscriptions?
What is it about the R. Kelly documentary? Because that at least to me, is just a significant documentary from the fact that so many people watched it, and from a commercial point of view, it must have had a great impact on like kind of how commercially documentaries or docu-series are being looked at.
Yeah, me personally, I didn't watch the R. Kelly documentary myself, but it was a very strategical thing behind it. I feel like people saw the opportunity to release it and by what was going on at the time, and it was very strategical. This film business is a very strategic business at the end of the day.
Are you talking
That's
about
why they call it
the Me Too movement was going on, and they came out with this and had it in film? And,
very coincidental, you know? Very coincidental.
or not coincidental.
Or not so coincidental.
Okay, but take an opportunity if you got a product and you want to kind of catch that wave is very normal in business.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and so did it have an impact on the culture of watching documentaries, docu-series, or do you think it was just another docu-series and I'm just not aware of what's going on out there?
I feel like that a lot of content these days that's being put out is very manufactured, pre-planned.
Right.
Like I feel like they've had the R. Kelly documentary in the works 2 years ago. Because honestly, everybody knew what R. Kelly was doing, you know, but it was just a matter of time of when to
Right.
release it. And
Right.
when would, once we drop this story, would that be the best time to make the money?
Right,
You
right.
know?
Goodness. Oh well, listen, I am running out of time. Where do people catch you and follow you?
So you can check me up at Nazir the Creator on Instagram and all social medias and everything on nkcreations.com. That's our website. Again, that's nkacreations.com. That's just my initials.
All right. Well, that's a wrap for our show. Thanks for joining us. Tune in next week in the Know with David O.